My name is Ashley Ding. This presentation is for my academic report project for AOLL 570 Introduction to Research. As you can see in this slide, my title for this research report is Immigrant Leaders in the U.S. In this presentation, you will find the report introduction, problem statement, literature review, research design, and the findings. Introduction. According to the United Nations report, Trends in International Migrant Stock as the year of 2015, the United States has over 45 million of immigrants, comprises 19.8% of the whole world total immigrant population. Out of these 45 millions of immigrants, a vast number of talented workers seek to become leaders in this new culture. Many of them succeed after many difficulties and with tremendous endurance. Many are still seeking and exploring their own luck and blessings. Many fail. This report intends to explore the realities of immigrant workers becoming leaders in the U.S. and identify key tips in how to become successful foreign worker in the U.S. This report is guided by the central question on how to fully explore immigrant workers' potential and support their leadership development. Problem statement. Many talented immigrant workers experience difficulties in demonstrating their full competencies, especially when advancing themselves in organizations. This population is educated, ambitious, and talented. Lack of trainings and advice to this particular population on their leadership skills results in wasting of talent, and the employees do not feel supported by the organizations. Broadly speaking, it is an indicator of an imperfect organization structure. And now let's clear up some definitions. Migrant worker. Migrant worker has a broader meaning. It refers to a person who is engaged or has been engaged in a remunerated activity in a state of which he or she is not a national by the United Nations. Migrant workers, sometimes also known as expatriates, and it does not differentiate if the worker settles in the arrival country permanently or not. Foreign worker. A foreign worker is a person who works in a country other than the one which he or she is a citizen. They usually reside temporarily in a country in which they work and will send most or all of the wages back to their country of origin. Immigrant worker. Immigrant worker are defined by many sources as people who work in a country they arrived to in order to settle there. Immigrant worker in this report. In this report, I will focus on leadership skills of those immigration workers, i.e., immigrants who work in the U.S. and intend to reside in the U.S. permanently. In order to have a focused study, the group I'm looking at are immigrant workers who are educated and ambitious. The first characteristic implies that there should be opportunities for this group of people to find employment. The second characteristic implies that they will not stop trying to become better. The perspective of leadership. It is inevitable to ask some important questions in this study. What does it mean to be a leader, and why having leadership skill is necessary? In avoiding going to a tangent of defining what a leadership is, which is not the main purpose of this study, I borrowed Zachariel and Klimowski's perspective of leadership. Positions of leadership are established in work settings to help organizational subunits to achieve the purpose for which they exist within the larger system. This perspective means that leaders are at the service of a collective effectiveness. Literature review. I'm not going to go through all the literatures for this report, but I will point to a few literatures that give me the most ideas and resources. For example, Success of Taiwanese Expatriate Managers on Overseas Assignments. Some of the key findings for this research are: culture is a significant factor when considering the efficiency of expatriate managers. Yet the studies on managers' competency, resistance to challenge, motivation, personality characteristics, and the benefits for the professional and his organization all play a factor in the productivity of the manager and are all related. Culture, self-identity, and work. Organizational behavior is affected by a number of factors, including culture. However, successful managerial and motivational techniques not found to be uniformly effective across the culture borders. This means that an effective manager, when working in a new culture, loses his skills and competencies as a leader. He or she will have to redefine their identities and learn new managerial techniques from a cross-cultural perspective. Transformational changes push leaders to embrace the immigrant mentality. Most employers and employees underappreciate the value of a different culture. They usually focus on improving their understanding of the new culture and adapting to new culture as soon as possible. If America's corporations are to flourish once again, their leaders must embrace immigrant values and learn to lead more authentically with speed and agility. In this more and more competitive and sometimes scary global market, leaders must be more culturally intelligent. Working Abroad, the complete guide to overseas employment and living in a new country. The purpose of this book is to give a comprehensive overview and a guide to professionals who are thinking about working overseas. The author covers topics from securing job opportunities to legal demands of acquiring a work visa to facing culture shock when returning to home country. The general theme of the book is that working overseas can be rewarding both financially and professionally. However, the process of adjusting to a new life can be a very challenging experience. Working in a new country not only means navigating through new professional standards, an expatriate also has to adapt to a new family and social life. The author advises that adequate research and preparation should be done before moving overseas. Research design. The methodology in this report is limited to qualitative literature review. By this fairly basic literature review, I wanted to find information on threefold. First, I was hoping to find immigrant leaders' own narratives on their experience of becoming a leader in the U.S., the barriers and the supports that they get along the way. I also wanted to gain an understanding of how the society views immigrant leaders, and if the society is aware that the support and attention should be given to this population. Another goal is to compile pertaining literatures and find out what works has been done in the academic field. Findings. The first finding is that leadership opportunities are predominantly occupied by native workers. Immigrant employees find it very hard to compete with a local employee for the same opportunity. difficulty of adapting to a new culture and a language barrier are still the main factors that affect immigrant leaders' competency. Immigrant workers have been getting some attention in terms of their welfare and their contributions. However, it also indicates that studies on immigrant workers' leadership development are inadequate. Existing literature narrowly gathered upon immigrant business leadership or entrepreneurship. There is almost no literature teaching an immigrant to progress to be a leader in a normal work opportunity, such as higher education. The two concepts, immigrant worker and leadership, seem hardly ever been put together. The study in this concept is very much inadequate. Due to the time limitation, future research is very much necessary for this topic, and I would like to recommend the next step of this research to be done in two phases. The initial survey phase is to find a powerful proof and review realities of current immigrant leaders' situations, what typical difficulties they run into, how they feel, and what and who helped them to get there. This is achieved by sending out a survey to a larger number of institutions and individuals. The second phase, the multi-case study, is to zoom in closely to a few, I would suggest about 10 successful leaders' stories. And this goal is to find out in detail the trajectory of their successes and hope to identify some key factors for their successes. And here is the references that I used in this report. Thank you for watching.